Right, we are live. And I'm going to wait just a few seconds here to make sure YouTube and StreamYard are yelling at each other and talking to each other. Looks like we're good. So, welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm your host, Ed Rabyd, the former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to the channel. Today is Deconversion Hangout. Deconversion Hangout, if you are a person deconverting and you want a break from all the people trying to reconvert you, if you want some encouragement in your deconversion, if you want uh, somebody who's been going through deconversion for about 9 years, getting close to a decade, talking to you, I am here for you. And as such, there are a few special rules. You have to be a subscriber for at least 20 minutes in order to participate in chat. It's my way of keeping both the drive-by theists and the theists that just want to reconvert people out. In fact, during Deconversion Hangout, trying to proselytize somebody back into faith is strictly forbidden. We'll shut you down for that. And there's a lot of people of former faith here, so if you try to preach and quote Bible verses, that might get you timed out quite a bit. So there's that. But thank you, everybody. So there is a goal in chat. That's my very unobtrusive way of asking for money to keep supporting the channel. If we get to 5 super chats today, I'll wear the hat chosen by the poll at that moment. So make sure you keep an eye on that, and I appreciate everybody who donates to my work. Going to try expanding things a little bit here, hopefully over the next few weeks. But I'm trying to make good long-term decisions in growing the channel. So and treating this more like a second occupation than just a hobby. So I've kind of had a revelation about that. So thanks about, personal coming from myself, not any deity, by the way. So there's that. But let's see who's here. Fred is here. He always tells us to never fear. Lee Spanner, welcome. Let's see. Ronald is here. Martin is here. We'll get to you seeking energy here in a minute. Anne Maria's here. Outstanding. Outstanding. And I also have to highlight Fred. Thanks, Fred. Appreciate the support. So we're already off to a start before even the live stream even started. So well done. Thank you, sir. Rock the red ribbon on that hat. I'm assuming you're voting for the top hat with the red ribbon. What other channel allows you to make the host wear a silly hat if you give him enough money? And then there's Asho. Welcome, Asho. How you doing, Asho? And how's your mom? I'm serious about that question. I do have my concerns about my friends. It's one of the things I don't get my friendship very easily, but once you get it, I worry about you. I have anxiety. So how's everything doing? Oh, your wife's watching? Oh boy, pressure, performance anxiety for me. Outstanding. Deconversion. I usually start with an issue I'm going through. A lot of people talk about having a purpose and things like that. That's why they do religion. And I've kind of been living in defiance of that for 9 years. But one of the things I've struggled with as somebody who deals with stuff is consistency. Religion never gave me that consistency, by the way. So there's that. And hello, Alex. Good to see you. But part of the issue that a lot of people, you can't have a purpose without God because nothing lasts forever. And it's like, I've always maintained that people have temporal purposes, and there's a lot of things in life that have a purpose for the time that they're given, and that's perfectly fine. And I think human beings can do that. They definitely can. Good to hear, Esso. I'm glad Mom's doing better. I know you were for a while there. It was a little touch and go. So Peggy, it's hard to keep entertained. I don't know about entertainment. I always work on my entertainment value, but yes, it's one of those things where deconversion is one of those things that when it comes to purpose, it's probably one of the things you struggle with, because so much of your identity is wrapped up in your religion that a lot of what you think your purpose is has been given to you, and it doesn't really fit you. And so that's why I've always said deconversion is a two-phase constant process. One, you're deconstructing from old beliefs, and two, you're trying to build a new self without it. And it's absolutely both sides of that. Like, you have to go that direction. So let's see. Alex says, thanks for the advice about prayer last week. It helped me through that. I'm glad it helped you through. And it's like, it's what I've told you, like, families you're going to have family members that are still religious. Religion is just kind of a part of society and part of culture. You have to find a way as an atheist to get through some of this stuff without being, perceived as it's one thing. We already have a bad enough, reputation because of propaganda. We don't need to be adding to that. So, Poipus. Fred, thanks. uh, so, okay, 14-year deconverter always gets better with time. Yeah, I think it does. I think my problem with my deconversion, Anne-Marie, is I spent the first 3 years of it still in the pulpit preaching Christianity, and I didn't believe a word of it. So, so there was that aspect of it. So, you just kind of, for me, the first 3 years of deconverting from my faith were a little bit difficult because I was surrounded by the symbols and the beliefs and all that stuff all the time. And I'm the guy in the pulpit. So it becomes a real interesting thing to be one of those things. It's like I spent about a year being a deist, saying, okay, maybe I can still believe in God and not necessarily believe in the religion. And then I'm like, well, yeah, except it's kind of an essential element to the religion to believe in God. So yeah, there's that. Yeah. Rule number one, don't be a dick. Yes. Mm-hmm. This is where I've kind of fallen, Kyle. I think you hit the nail on the head. There is no ultimate meaning to life. That's the nihilism you have to accept. But that doesn't mean your life can't have some sort of meaning and purpose in the now. I think they were talking over Simos Funk and company were talking on his channel earlier, and I was just listening in, and they were talking about this issue about living in the right now, living in the now, and doing what you can that's beneficial in the now. And having it all, it's good to have career plans and stuff like that, but it's more important to be living as a good person in the now. So, yeah, it's one of those things. So it's definitely one of those issues where it's more of a day to day. And my struggle deconverting and very recently is like, what am I doing here? Okay, and really, that's a very personal question. And as long as you're not being a jerk to other people, I think you can have a pretty good purpose in life. And sometimes your purpose kind of finds you. Like, you just keep doing the right thing every day after day after day. And eventually it just kind of discovers you. I think too many people want to throw the purpose first and then try to live up to that. Well, sometimes some days don't allow you to do that. So there's that. Yeah, it is a thing, but it's not a thing that everybody approaches the same. You got a surprise look? Oh, outstanding. Yeah, there you go. See, and that's what I say, Alex, last time when you talked about this. It's like, you can be a good person. You don't have to participate in the prayer, but you can let them have it. Okay. I mean, and it's not that long. Okay, I know it's a big social event for us atheists when we first deconvert, but it's like, I'm not there to cause trouble. It's a family gathering, and I need to remember the purpose of the gathering. So that's why I do it. Living with a hubs who still is the hard part. Some need to get out. Yes. I think I don't talk about my marriage often here. I don't have any anger or animosity to my ex anymore. I feel a lot of sadness for the marriage because what it started out as was two people who, because of purity culture, now we get to have sex. You know, not that it wasn't happening before we got married; it was, but it was like we could have it without guilt. Okay, and then you throw on top of that that we're all like dedicated to this purpose. We're going to be a pastor and pastor's wife, and you know, you have the kids, you get your first church, you start being pastor, pastor's wife, and you feel like that. And now it had become so much part of our identity that it was a way of fulfilling not just the purpose of God for our lives in our mindset at the time, but also fulfilling the purpose for our marriage. So what happens when the kids grow up and leave the house? So now you don't have that to work on together. You're not raising children anymore. And what happens when one of you decides you don't believe anymore? Okay. And that person happens to be the pastor. I mean, a pastor's wife can't be a pastor's wife without her husband being a pastor. And so a lot of the purpose for our marriage just went out the door the moment I left the church. So that's the real tragedy of my marriage, is that our my calling, so to speak, got wrapped up in what our marriage was. And then I'm coming out of that and saying, okay, what is the purpose for this marriage? What are we doing? You know? And yeah, that's kind of why it kind of fell apart. So I do think that writing my own story day by day is a better mood, because I can think about, like, to me it's very stoic to not dwell on things I can't control. And the future is in large part out of my control. I can only control myself, and the past I can't do anything about. And so I can only learn the lessons of the past and apply them to what I'm doing now. And so I think predestination, I've had, you know, I remember when a lot of apologists were using, you know, you guys believe in fatalism. And I'm like, you have part of a theological system called Calvinism that believes that too, that God takes the place of the mechanics of the universe, and you still believe in predestined bullshit. I said, I just don't, you know, if God has, based on my experience, if God has this purpose for everybody, he sure f's it up a lot. Okay, because I've seen people following the purpose of God for their lives and end up in some really bad circumstances. And then they'll just, oh, God's bringing me through a test. You know, God never gets held accountable, okay, by his own followers, and that's part of my problem. Yeah, it's not a religion. I've had this debate about what a religion is, and I've heard it again tonight, and I've heard it days on days. And it's like, if you don't have some sort of spiritual woo that you just believe and don't have any evidence for, I don't think you're a religion. You have to have those things to be a religion. So, hair, fangs, and musical. What a great idea. Speaking of fangs, just a reminder to you members, you have a couple new emojis, actually three of them. You have the no, and you have the yes, and the latest addition is Grumpy Fangs. So there you go. But yes, Grumpy Fangs is a part of it. So there you go. So for those of you who are members, don't be afraid to use your emojis. It's always a lot of fun. But yes, I don't know. When I look back at my marriage, it failed largely because we built our purpose so much for our marriage and connected it so much with our religion that once the religion was gone for one of us, me in particular, it just didn't have anything else. We had raised our kids. I was no longer going to be a pastor. And so what was the point of the marriage? And that's kind of the sadness of when you get duped into this stuff at the beginning and indoctrinated into this stuff at the beginning, to the point that you decide to make it your life. Yeah, that's kind of deadly. So there's that. And so I feel for you, Anne. I really do, because when we get back to your comment, it's like, I don't want to say you might need some counsel on how to deal with this that I really can't provide because I tried, not necessarily to make my ex an atheist, but I tried very much in saying, hey, we got to find something else that this partnership is about. Like, what are we about? And it had been so long, part and parcel, pastor's wife, that we didn't know how to find anything else. And I think her belief was that I was eventually going to return to faith, and I was going to eventually return to the pulpit, and then she would have her purpose fulfilled. And it was like, no, that's not happening. So, and she kind of refused to deal with anything else, and so it kind of ended it for me. I'm like, if you're not going to work on this, then I'd rather be on my own. Thanks. Not having it's an advantage. Now that I'm single, it's an advantage. I could focus on things. Before, I had to always be careful about, when I was still married and deconverting, I always had to be careful about what I said, careful about, how I presented things. Like, she would come up with a really ridiculous idea based on religion. I'd be like, I don't want to do that because it's just not me anymore. And how to say that without saying those words and being a dick. Yeah. Trying to follow our first rule, don't be a dick. Hey, Wolf. Let's see. You have intense combos with your religious parents. Okay. That they're non-Christian. Being an Orthodox Jew ruined 2 marriages. Yeah, I can see where it would be the other way around too, Lee. Like, yeah, if you're in the religion, there's a lot of reasons why you can actually dump the marriage and not have a strong, because you're so focused on the God thing that's time and energy and money and everything else that could be focused on your relationship. And yeah, if I think about it more, I'd like to have my tithe back. And I'd love to take all that money and instead have spent it on my relationship with my wife, like with counseling and everything else, and doing something else besides the religion part. But yeah, probably my only real regret about the whole thing is there's a lot of little small ones, but the big one is all the time and money and energy I could have been focusing on my marriage instead of my religion. So yeah, no, Sky got no problem. Yeah. Atheism is an answer to one question on a religion, probably not even a worldview. Just no. Yeah, I agree with that. Ronald's there using, the binky. Yeah, I do have the binky too. It's a good emoji. And this one's a good one too. And all you members have all these, but then there's my favorite is O for Fang's sake. So, and you can use our atheist deity to cuss, and you won't get in trouble for using Fangs you and things like that. So it was weird hearing Christian songs again. Looking at the thing just shows how I don't make it. Yes. When I was a Christian, music has always dominated my life. But when I was a Christian, I had a lot of Christian music, especially growing up. Like, I had, like, from the 80s and early 90s, I must have had every Christian rock group, something in my collection for something. And a lot of that was my parents wouldn't allow me to bring Iron Maiden to a youth rally or Metallica or anything like that. And so I found Christian groups that sounded similar, and I could take that. And so, but yes, I remember the first time I stepped back into a church, it had been a few years, and I heard a hymn. It was weird. It was surreal. It was like, I'm not that anymore. And I have since realized the power of music to indoctrinate. Like, there's a reason why churches do what they do, and having music a part of it is definitely an indoctrination practice. Because if we can connect with music, often those ideas keep. We got Dave over there at Captive Desk. He's got his little jingle about "We love toast," and every time he does it, it gets stuck in my brain. And it's through that little exercise that I began to realize the power of music as an indoctrination tool. And so when you hear it after a while of not hearing it, you're going to pick up on that, Alex, a lot quicker than most people. Like right now, you're probably in a perfect spot to note when something is religious and how it's used as an indoctrination tool. So yeah, delusion is always a frustrating process problem to live with, Kyle. Anne-Marie, I don't say throw away the marriage. I definitely say, keep it. If it still has other reasons to exist besides religion, then absolutely stick with it. If it's not abusive, stick with it. You've lived with this other person as a human being, okay? And so as an atheist, I really try to treat every human being the same. I try to get rid of the tribalistic mindset that religion imposed on me a lot, and politics tries to impose on me, and just realize everybody's a human being kind of stumbling through this. And if you have somebody next to you that helps you stumble a little bit better, so to speak, yeah, keep it. It's like I really wanted those advantages in my marriage, but they just weren't there, because it was always about, when are you going to go back to the ministry? When are you going to return to the pulpit? And those words were never actually always said, but it was implied, like, you're going to get over this and go back to the pulpit. And it's like, no, you're not taking this seriously. So yeah. Thanks for the memories. Show me the bunny. Yeah, show me the bunny. Put some super chats in there. Hey, Evan, good to see you. Had somebody through. I know I tested COVID positive in a household with COVID deniers. Oh, okay. Wow, that's a tough one. Yeah, I deal with my own conspiracy theorist family members, and some of them are very near to my heart too. But I don't know. I don't know. What's going to probably happen, because they're deniers, is they're going to get it too, and despite getting the disease, they're going to still say it's not there. Yeah, we love toast. Oh my gosh, Fred. Every time that gets stuck in my head. I like the newer version too. If he's not going to use the newer version, I'm taking it. I'm going to ask him to give it to me. So everybody likes the old version around here. I'm like, I don't know. So yes, when it comes up, it's amazing how music and religion have a history together, isn't it? Like, there's always music to every group. I mean, even people who ban the use of instruments, there are certain cults of Christianity that don't allow musical instruments. They still have music. It's all a cappella. That's where the one group, the Christian group a cappella, came from, is they came out of a tradition that didn't allow musical instruments. And so that's how they made music. And so, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think probably what's going to happen is make sure they get good medical care when they actually catch something that they deny, because that's probably what's going to happen. I don't like to be a doom and gloom prophet, but it's like every time I've run into a COVID denying household with other people get COVID, it usually spreads through the whole house. So essentially, it's just there. Faded out of religion too. Yeah, Coyote, it's like, now I look at going back into religion as unsafe for me, because there's a lot of viewpoints in religion I just don't want anymore. It's so nice to, for instance, go up to somebody who's LGBTQ and just give them a hug and say, how you doing? Instead of having that fundamentalist bullshit in the back of my head that says I need to hate this person because they're a sinner. Well, I don't hate them. I hate the sin, and I love them. And it's like, that's so much bullshit. It's like, and to not have that bullshit when in your relationships, it's just great stuff. And when you going back into that would just be unsafe for me, because I've started to love and care for a lot of more people than I did as a Christian, and including the former Christians and the Christians that are still Christians. I still care for them. You see some of the worst ones. It's more of a human thing now, and I'm glad for it. And I would lose that if I went back in. So, yeah, I took the COVID vax when they first came out. I'm still alive. That's one thing that's one thing that's been very interesting to me, because all these people made predictions, all this massive death due to the vaccine, and it hasn't happened yet. So, you're no instrument Christian. You'd always cheat and tap your foot. So you had percussion, BS. And welcome, BS. Good to see you. It didn't really make it feel like a cult, especially when people raising their hands. Do you ever raise your hands? Oh yeah, Pentecostal. Raising hands during worship is like a peer pressure thing in a Pentecostal church. Like you got to put those antennae up to better receive the Holy Spirit. I literally heard a pastor say that. So, yeah, it's the issue, Alex, with that is you begin to, you got to completely surrender to God. All the reasons for raising hands during worship was given to me when I was a Pentecostal. Like, it indicates total surrender to God. When a robber puts a gun in your belly button, you raise your hands, or it's like, these are not good images. But yes, I used to raise my hands all the time. I now recognize what it is. It's like an emotional thing. A lot of people do the same at rock concerts. If you go to an average rock concert, you'll get the same effect that you got in worship service. And you can raise your hands there, and nobody will think it's weird either. It's almost like a music thing, really. So there's that. Hey, Kyle. Yeah. See, yeah, if you went back to some churches now, Coyote being gay, yeah, they would kick your ass. They would absolutely want to do deconversion, deprogramming therapy and all that stuff on you. And yeah, it would not be safe for you to go back to a lot of churches. You haven't had COVID yet, and you haven't died yet. But I got my vaccines early. I'm doing a literal test on how long I live since my first COVID vaccine, and see how I do. So I had somebody visit the channel probably 6-7 months ago that explained that this argument that it's unsafe because they only took 2 weeks to develop it, and it's like, he came on and he's like, no, that's not technically true. It took 2 weeks to develop the specific vaccine, but it took decades and decades of studying immune disease and using DNA and stuff like that we based all that on. So that's not technically correct at all. Like, the COVID vaccine is kind of nice in the fact that we now know that if we want to apply what we know specifically to a specific thing, we can do it very quickly. Okay. But it's not true that it only took 2 weeks to develop. It was based on a lot of other developments. So it's like, it's not true. That's not true at all. Growing 8 arms. Glad you did it. There you go. Yeah, I've heard every conspiracy theory nut job thing, and it's like, I'm still alive here, you bastards, and healthier than ever. I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, the Merlin. Most of my old Christian friends had a problem with me having empathy for people. Like, I didn't want to see the poor people suffering, or people being killed for being gay, trans, the groups. Yes, I know the groups very well. Like, I always get it. Christians are more loving and compassionate. Would you please show me that? Because I have never seen it. Okay. Religion gives you a lot of reasons to be tribal. Like, it gives you a lot of reasons to hate people that haven't done a damn thing to you. Like, no LGBTQ person has really hurt my life, ever. And so it's like, I don't care. I mean, I don't care about that stuff. What people do identify themselves as and what they do in their bedroom is not my damn business. I don't care anymore. Like, it's really weird how some religions make you not necessarily voyeurs, but judges of what other people do with their sex lives. Like, to me, that's kind of weird. It's weird now. Like, I don't have the ability to hate people simply because of who they sleep with. Um, I, I, I agree. Sometimes I think it's kind of a weird way to identify yourself. If that's your sole identity, I think you need to work on some other things. But it's like, I just don't understand anymore how to do that. And I think it would be, for me, the danger is not so much that I'm necessarily LGBTQ myself. I'm a very heterosexual man, but the danger is I would start calling people out on their bullshit during service. I would probably have some pretty negative reactions to that. So one of my weirdest experiences in Christian school was the wannabe pastor was badgering me about my thoughts on gays, and I squared up for a fight and told him what they do is their business. Exactly. And and if you do that in some churches, you will become pariah very quickly because they have a very, this is the way it is kind of thing. So flu vaxxers for keeping you alive the last few years, probably. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It wasn't created in 2 weeks. There was a whole bunch of tools that were developed to deal with COVID over decades of research in immunology. And so all they did is took all that knowledge that they already possessed and applied it to a specific thing, and it worked. Imagine that. Science with its testable, repeatable, predictable results works. I'm excited. So, I'm not an expert in vaccines, but I do know this. I had a Christian friend who hated anti-vaxxers because he caught polio as a kid. Okay. And gosh, he was old. This is when the polio vaccine had just been developed. He got the vaccine and it saved his life. Okay. So now later on in life, when he hit his 30s and 40s, he developed polio-like symptoms because like there's a post-polio, but it was an early run vaccine. And so it's not complete. It's rare, but it does happen. And so he was always in a lot of pain. But he used to say this: I wouldn't be in pain and I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for the vaccine. I wouldn't be here right now and have 3 kids, a wonderful wife that supports me. And he was like one of the early people to start, computer translation software. Like he worked on that stuff, like translating one language to another way back when it was first starting. He was one of the initial people that had language knowledge. And he died a Christian, believing in Jesus, but he absolutely hated anti-vaxxers because he knew the facts that it worked. And I'm no expert, but I do know this: vaccines have done us a hell of a lot more good than evil. Is it possible that some vaccines were bad? Sure. Is it possible some manufacturing is corrupt? Absolutely. But that's true in any business. And so it's like, but more often than not, 99.9% of the times it saved our ass. Okay. So, I'm going to stick with it. Yeah, it is still creepy and weird. It literally is poking your opinion in other people's sex lives. It's kind of weird, to be honest. Yeah, like somebody died and made them God. I wonder who died and made them God. Yeah, it's starting. It is sad that polio and measles are making a comeback, but it's like, I think we've reached a point of desperation, Fred, of these people that they're willing to go complete batshit crazy in their beliefs. And it's a sign that religion is dying and they're flailing about and they know it, at least in the Western world it is. So magic bullet mean you're invincible now. Yeah, it doesn't mean you're invincible. It just means you have a better chance. It improves your odds. So about kids, grandkids, meaning behind the door stuff, things like that. Yeah. Use the wrong pronouns. Yes. Yeah, if you do that to them, they get pissed off. And then it's like, well, when you do it to me, I get pissed off. I have my issues with some of that stuff, but I leave that for those of you in the LGBT community. I've kind of adopted a policy over time of letting you guys sort that shit out amongst yourselves. Um, I could handle a poly household, but that's about the extent of my LGBTQ-nesses. So it's like, and it would have to be like an official thing. I'm not sure though I could handle it as an autistic person, because I would want a place of privacy and stuff like that. And the more people you put in a house, the less opportunities there are for that. So yeah. Oh, but yes. Yes. Fangs is the thing about Fangs. In putting together this, I put together a paragraph outline of the book that me and Earl are doing together, and I sent it to her, and she responded. I don't know. She's kind of busy right now because there's a thing called work, and she's trying to find some because, she's been facing a lot of adversity in work. And if we believed in prayer, I'd tell you to pray for her, and it would be a useless gesture, but I don't. But yeah, she's had probably anything, encouraging Earl and giving her head pats and snacks probably would do a lot of good for her right now. So I do get concerned about my friends, and but yes, um, yeah, anti-vax thoughts. Yeah, that's definitely Fangs' view on that. But yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I mean, I go where the science goes. So, because so far science is the only thing that's given me testable, repeatable results. Faith never did that for me. Yeah, hugs for Earl. Yes, yeah, she's written on her blog, which is in the description of this stream. So if you want to head over there and check it out. But yeah, she's got her struggles with her profession right now and things like that. I think she could use some comments and some head pats and stuff like that, because so it's like it's that kind of thing. She comes by, wish her well and all that stuff, but it's like um, we all have that moment where we struggle with the vocation that we're in as a vocation. Like, I thought about giving up the ministry long before I left the faith several times, and I know that struggle. You get into something, you get into a point where you have a certain level of expertise, and you can see other people's incompetence, and supposedly the people in charge are supposedly more competent than you, and you're like, what the hell? How did they get in charge? That's kind of how she's feeling right now. So, and I feel for her, and I agree with her. I feel the same way. It's interesting that both of us have made the simultaneous decision to, like, you know what? I'm going to be a content creator, an author, and an atheist advocate. I just got to figure out a way to pay for it, without having to go to work 40 hours a week. And so I have a pretty stable financial life for the most part now, but I keep falling behind on things, and that's kind of part of my reason. But I would love to do this full time. Can you imagine the Rabyd Atheist on 5 days a week and putting out 5 videos every week and things like that? That would be me. So yeah, but yeah, it's like I care very much for Earl, and she's a great person, and I feel her pain so much because I'm right there, and she's kind of like, I'd rather be an artist. it's just trying to figure out how to get there. Okay, and none of us are giving up our day jobs at this point, but it's like it's a struggle for her, and I care about her enough to say something. I hope she's doing well. I try to keep private things private. So, but it's like, you can read what she writes about this on her blog, I Killed Earl. So you can, and the link for that's in the description. So, but yeah, you can read about her struggles. Maybe drop a comment. So, of encouragement, that would be good for her. She likes head pats, so make sure you pat her head. Carrot, good luck, carrot spawner. Humanity who needs it. Yeah, you. Yes, the Rabyd Nation. Yes, the Rabyd Nation. Yeah, it's like I don't know. A lot of deconversion changes my viewpoint on a lot of things. Like, apologists always like because we're bringing up the vaccination thing, apologists like to put science in the realm of religion. Creationists are especially notorious for doing this. And it's like, I don't know of any deity that scientists are praying to. Okay. Even the Christian ones, they might be praying to Christ, but it has nothing to do with their science. Yeah, I just, when you look at how science is really done, it's like there's not a lot of spiritualism and prayer to it. It's about getting testable, repeatable results that conform with reality and have predictive power, and it works. And so, yeah, it becomes one of those things. But yeah, it's one of those things where I get a little bit upset, at times, because I got to deal with people in my household that are that way, and a lot of you deal with that way too. There's a lot of things I could say about some of this stuff, but we got to be. I think the real issue for those of us who believe in science is to make sure that our data is accurate before we present it, because a lot of people gun ho for science will post old results or results that are no longer valid, or they'll not check the source of where it came from. And even though they're pro science, they put out false information. You got to be very, very careful with that stuff too. So help me with my lab tests. Rabyd. Oh my goodness. Yes. But we have a lot of oh fang sakes reaction sometimes, but yes. But that's kind of where deconversion is, for me, is finally living up to what I want to be. I've reached the point in defining my purpose where what is it I want to do, and it's okay. Before I used to think that was a selfish thing, but now it's like, no, it's what we should be doing. What is it that you want to do with your life and all that stuff, and how do you want to approach it, and what do you want to base your understanding of reality on? And yeah, getting rid of the religious nonsense is a big step forward. We've also talked today about marriage and stuff, so it's like that's a good topic, because I have a lot of friends who are in mixed marriages, in the sense that they no longer believe, but their partner still does. So it's a good topic. It happens often. I don't know. The Clergy Project, I think once upon a time, tried to get some statistics on this with former ministers. But I know that in my own personal experience with some of the people in Clergy Project, it's kind of it can be an issue that ends a marriage. So I'll just put it that way, for pastors, because so much your identity as a pastor and pastor's wife is the religion, and that becomes part of your identity as a marriage, that sort of thing. And so I don't know what the stats are. I think they figured about 60% if they stayed mixed still split up. And then other people, like Durante Lamar, announced to his wife he didn't believe anymore, and she was like, "Oh, thank God." I don't either. I just and come surprised neither one of them believed anymore. And she had not believed longer than him. So it's like sometimes you get that and it's good news, but other times it's not. So there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to unpack when you deconvert. For a deconversion changed my view on Christianity. I realized theists are not stupid, just misled. Seth Andrews says he gained no intellect by leaving Christianity, just honesty. Yes, and that's the thing. Like, there are plenty of smart people that believe in God. Okay, they're smart in other ways. A lot of people hang on to stuff because of emotional reasons. It's not their field, things like that. And you gain no intelligence. I don't think you lose intelligence just because you become religious either. The issue is, are you going to be honest with yourself about what's evidentially available? Like, there are standards of evidence that everybody follows, and if you just apply them, are you going to be honest about it? So, atheists call theists stupid. Yes, I never have called a theist stupid. I've called their ideas dumb. I think you have to make that distinction. Like, that's just not a smart idea. That doesn't even make sense. you can make that accusation about their ideas. And I always try to be very careful about, your ideas are crap, not you. You're a good, deep down inside, I think a lot of theists are a better people than what their religion makes them into. Their religion is what dulls their goodness. And that's why one of the chief reasons I'm an anti-theist is I think when you get rid of religion, you become a better person, because now you're not making snap judgments about a person based on what your holy book says or what your religion tells you about them. You're making that judgment based on how they treat you, what's the content of their character, how, is there a good reciprocity in their morality? Do they understand that? And deep down inside, I think a lot of people are better moral people than their religion makes them into. And I think that's the issue. A lot of times when I talk morality with Christians and stuff, I'm like, I'm sorry, I think you're a better moral person than your religion makes you. I think your religion dulls your ability to be a better moral person. It doesn't stop them from being good moral people, but it certainly doesn't help. Okay, when you have a holy book that still advocates for slavery and the subjection of women to men, I think you have a moral problem. Okay, yeah, I think you have a moral problem. And I'm not going to back down from that conversation, but it doesn't mean that they're stupid, and it doesn't mean they're dumb. It's just being misled is a common thing. All of us are probably misled about something. Okay, it just takes a while, and we don't have enough time to uncover it all. Okay, we just don't. And so a lot of times, yeah, we're going on quote unquote belief or faith, but you got to trust sometime, I guess. So stay how long ever you can, Evan. You know how this works. Appreciate it when you're here. If you're not here, we're still thinking about you. So yeah, to them it's very real, so they can't give it up. And it's not that they're dumb. It's a lot of it when you break it down, Coyote, is childhood indoctrination. Like, if you grew up in the church and you bought everything, it is harder for you to get rid of it. I'm case in point. I grew up in this. I had a lot of emotional attachment to the church, emotional attachment to Jesus, emotional attachment to afterlife beliefs. Like when my father died, I became much more attached to afterlife beliefs that I was going to see him again, because it's weird because me and my father parted well. Like, the last memory I have of my dad alive is me hugging him and him telling me he loved me and telling me to be careful and be safe because he loved me. And so that's my last memory of my father. And so it ended well. I don't have any regrets about that. It's just, I missed that so much. And I had an emotional attachment to that so much that I wanted heaven to be true. It didn't matter the fact that there's absolutely no evidence for any afterlife belief. It's just, I wanted it to be true so much. Okay. And this is the thing that I keep bringing out on this channel, that your attachment to your religion is emotional, and they just don't want to accept that. So, yeah, misled, not stupid. Yes. Yeah. If your parents are into it too, like, I don't know if my parents really participated in the brainwashing so much as they were just taking me to church every week. My parents have been good liberal hippies before then. So, not hippies in the sense of my mom wearing flowers in her hair and all that stuff, but dad wearing tie-dye shirts, but more of their attitude toward life was very liberal. And then for some reason, my birth caused them to become conservative. And it's probably that old indoctrinated belief: if you want to teach morality, you got to take them to church. And it's like, no, if you want to teach people morality, let's talk about people. Okay. So yeah, you want something so much, you think you found it, and it's hard to shake. Yes. Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people, Ronald, that hell scares them more than heaven is a desire. But if you have somebody you love very much and you feel like they're in heaven, it is a draw. Okay. It's a sales pitch that works. Okay. It works. Believing and reinforcing it, so it's hard to walk away, especially when your whole social circle is the church. Yes, that was a problem for me. I just, it's, Man, coming out of the church was one of the most difficult decisions I ever made because I knew I was turning my back on a lot of people, but couldn't, I couldn't, take it anymore. I really couldn't. So I don't know. I have found, that this is, I'm putting up fangs in a psychedelic thing. Religion is kind of like this. There's a lot of cool things in it that really appeal to you, but they're all in bubbles, and as soon as you pop the bubble, they disappear. And this is a great painting. I love Earl's work, but it is indoctrination. I'm not saying it's, but it's passive. Like they're not the ones teaching me this stuff. My parents never really taught me religion at home. They just took me to church a lot. So yeah, you're speaking from your own experience as well. Yeah. Okay. Yep. See, it's like it's hard to give up something that you have an emotional attachment to. Yeah. Yeah. That's the lovely I Killed Earl. That's her work. There's a lot in this one, by the way. You have to look at this one for a long, long time. So, I mean, I can reduce my size here a little bit. But there's a lot of stuff in this painting. A lot. Some of you are in this painting, by the way. Some of you regulars are in there. If you hadn't noticed, there's a Kraken in there somewhere. Probably related to Cranky Elder God, who I don't know if he's here tonight. He may not be, but yeah, it's like there's a lot of stuff in here. So, but yeah, I kind of like this one. So yeah, she always has fun art. But yeah, I feel like that when you're in a religion, though, this is kind of the way it is. Like you have all these bubbles that you believe in, and the moment you pop them, they just pop, and they're not there anymore. It's a good illustration painting for me right now because, and you got the sunglasses on, and everything looks rosy, but when you take the sunglasses off and start popping bubbles and realize it's just bubbles. Yeah, so there's like that. Yeah, I like her art a lot too. One of my best decisions was letting her do the art for my channel. One of the best decisions I ever made. So that and becoming her friend. So man writes for gay whales. See you later, Martin. Have a good one. As a kid, the church bordered my dad's property. We were always there. Yeah. I'm kind of in that situation now. I'm on a block where the church is on the corner from me, and it would be very easy to go back to church every day, but I'm not going to. So I call the octopus. Hey, there's your kind of TV. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Remember back when I was 14 taking church classes, teachers told me not to ever use condoms because they were against God's process. Mind you, there was a pregnant teen in the class. Yes. There are a lot of religions that believe that, my dear. Yeah. The thing about that doctrine is, though, it's responsible for what I consider a massive amount of death in Africa and Catholic-controlled countries. Like AIDS was spreading rapidly, and no, it's evil to do this. That's evil, but not. The more evil thing was not to wear a condom, like interfere with God's process. And it's like, and then they'll tell you don't have sex until you're married, and it's like the most natural thing for once you hit puberty and adolescence. The big draw is sex. Like it's the evolutionary draw is there. And yeah, next thing you know, you got a bunch of pregnant girls. It's a good way to end up with a lot of pregnant women in church. So, but yeah, I remember we had a discussion about that when I was in youth group. Pentecostals were Protestant, so they tend not to go that way, although some fundamentalists did. So evil condos, yeah. This convo is making me even more grateful that the corner of my block is a restaurant that has really good live Mexican music. A lot of weekends outdoors so you can hear it. Yeah, I am 2 blocks away from downtown, and if I really wanted to, there's like concerts there all summer on Main Street, and in some of the parks there's concerts. It's just a lot of them are Christian, so it's like no, I don't want to go. So, but yes, but yeah, it's like that's one of the big deconversion issues I had after I left the faith was getting rid of that indoctrination about fornication, that sex outside of marriage is evil and God is going to zing you for it. And it's like, why? Why would that be a problem? If you take proper precautions, you can be fine. Yeah, I wish. Yeah, Evan's got it good there, man. If he's got, like, when I was in Texas, there were a couple of things I really miss. I miss the food trucks because the food that the Hispanics produce down there, oh my Lord, to die for, some of it. There was always a party every weekend somewhere in the neighborhood where they just, put on music and stuff like that. And I could hear all that. I'm too autistic to participate. But, and then just the people, some of the nicest people I ever met were in my neighborhood. I was the token white guy. And everybody just beautifully nice, watched out for their family. And, I'm kind of very alarmed right now because a lot of my students that were Hispanic were in the boat of their parents were illegals. And I'm like, you're going to pull citizenship away from my students because of what their parents did. What standard of justice is that? Okay, so, there's a taco truck. Oh, you're jealous. I'm jealous. Having a taco truck in your own neighborhood. That doesn't exist here in my small town America. I have to go to an actual restaurant to do that kind of stuff. I miss food trucks. There was so much I'll give Houston one thing. You have a lot of variety of things. Like if something's not quite your cup of tea, you could find something else that is. So very cosmopolitan, not very. It's interesting how a lot of outsiders outside Houston talk about Houston and Texas like it's evil because it's liberal. And like, you obviously didn't live there. It's kind of half and half, actually. But yeah. But I miss the food trucks. I really do. Chuck wagon, yeah. Yep. I miss ice cream trucks too. Although, the one I miss from Houston the most is they had like right a block away from me a snow cone truck, like, and they did snow cone flavoring. Oh my gosh, good stuff. Not, you think snow cone is just cheap stuff, but not these people. So it's like, yeah, they're the bomb. The Mexican food in Texas is like, I did get invited to somebody's house once for dinner, and I accepted the invitation because they gave me the proper amount of time notification. And this is real Mexican food. This is not the cheap crap that most Americans think is Mexican food, but it was just really good stuff. And so, yeah, it's hard. You're from Portland? Okay. All right. Food trucks rule. Okay. I can be. See, I love food trucks. Like, it's variety on wheels. It's like, it's great stuff. And I enjoy the food trucks. So it's one of my favorite moments, was visiting some of those food trucks. I miss them. I miss the snow cone one. I miss, there was one near my house that served burritos. Like, that's all they served was burritos, but there was a lot of different varieties. Good stuff. And the problem now for me, though, is I can't eat a lot of that stuff. I think Houston ruined me because a lot of that's got a little spice and kick to it. My stomach no longer likes spice. It just doesn't like it, and I feel sad for myself. So finding a good, authentic taco truck in Canada, yeah, good luck. It's easier to find on the southern border, man. It's just, Oh, there are just so many food trucks in Houston. That's probably one of the few things I miss about Texas. That and the Renaissance Festival, and having good neighbors. I was surprised by that because I'm in the inner city, but I was in a part south of one of the roads where they say the farther south of this road, the worse the neighborhood gets. And I was kind of on the border there, but I was very surprised. Like my neighbors that live next door, one of the best couples I've ever known, man and woman. They watched out for when I went on vacation. I'd tell them, and they would like, yeah, we'll watch your apartment, make sure nobody messes with it, and they did. So it's like it was just good people rubbing shoulders together. I also saw a lot of shitty things. Don't get me wrong, but particularly in school. So, but I you have a hard time getting to town. Yeah, but I think food trucks are one of mankind's greatest inventions. So, because you get to sample some food that you normally wouldn't do, and it's a quicker option because it's already ready for you. Like they've already cooked up some stuff, and they just have to finish it up and give it to you. And I always love that about food trucks. I want to go from my craving of a food into actually eating it in a very short amount of time. So there's that. So, but yeah, it's one of the few things I miss. I've thought about, I wonder if I could find a cook around here that would start a food truck, but I'm not sure that would work. It's a small town America, so hard to get enough customer base, I think. See you later, Kyle. Yeah, I gotta actually dash myself a little bit too early today too, because I've got some stuff I want to get done before I head off to work. But I will be out Saturday. Saturday we'll be doing live stream, and it will be. I want to look at. I've been reading this book, and I just finished it, called The War of Art, and I've been trying to, contact my humanistic muse. And there's a chapter in the book. I'm happy that he had an atheist write the foreword to the book, who says, I love this book, but I disagree with the entire third part. And I do too. So, but one of the things is like, who's more egotistical, the theist or the atheist? And one of the things he does in that book is he does this contrast between ego and self. And, it talks about getting in touch with yourself, but everything in self is like fanciful, faith-based stuff. And then the ego part is all the rational stuff. And it's like, I'd flip that. But yeah, we're gonna talk about that. And I think I just have to figure out a title, and I'll put the thumbnail in the broadcast up probably sometime tomorrow. So, but it's not a dirty word, but I've noticed that a lot of theists like Carl Jung for some reason, and I'm having a problem with this guy's application, because to me, I think it's overly egotistical to believe that you're going to continue forever and that you have a hotline to a deity that's helping you out. Who's more egotistical, that person or the person that doesn't believe in those things? So I don't know. I kind of disagree with how he's talking about it. So we're going to have a discussion about that. I don't necessarily have a video, but I felt it would be a good discussion of who, I don't believe in what I haven't seen and I haven't heard, and, that kind of thing. So it's like, I don't know. So I want to dive into that topic, because I'm going to probably take his observations and put them side by side, and we can talk about them. Very rare for me to do a book review, but I've gotten to the fact that I've actually finished a book. I don't know about some of the rest of you, but I usually have like 6 or 7 of them are reading at the same time in various states of being finished. So, and I finally finished one. So maybe I should talk about it, but we'll see that on Saturday. But I do have to run. I've got a couple things I got to get done around the apartment where I had to work. And Mighty Filbert, you're late. You always arrive right when I'm about to quit. It seems lately. But yeah. But thanks everybody for stopping by. I do have to run a little bit early today because I got I got some stuff I got to get finished and some other things. So there's that. But thanks everybody for stopping by. May Fangs nibble on your heart. May he purify your vegetables. Make sure you're practicing good Fangsology practices by making sure you circumcise your carrots by taking off only the tip, and make sure your vegetables are cleansed of religious poisoning before you eat them. So, and thanks everybody for stopping by. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate the donations. It keeps the channel running and motoring along. Hopefully soon we'll start seeing more content out of me. I'm trying to develop an attitude of this is something I need to do for me. And so thanks for that. So everybody stay out there, stay safe, be good to people around you. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around and then it's over. So you want to take all your time, money, and opportunities, use them for yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, folks, thanks for stopping by, and I will catch you all next time on Saturday. See you then.